As you see, many Republican, governors and those pundits and whatever do not want their true history taught in America because American history is very evil and demonic. And they feel that, well, we need to stop this history because we really don't want too many people to know who we really are. And that's not happening. Case in point, you have this white young lady that just come to the realization about the history of her community and how sick they were. But let's roll that.
Evangelical culty religion. As I educate myself, though, I really get stuck on this one point. White Christians would go to church on a Sunday wearing a cross around their neck to worship a martyr god who was crucified by being nailed to a cross to be publicly tortured to death for political reasons. And then those same Christians would leave church with a picnic to go to a public, and then they would gather by the hundreds or thousands to do to a black person the same or worse than was done to their martyr god. And then they would pass out the body parts as souvenirs, and they would take photographs to go on postcards. And they would bring their kids and call themselves, without irony, Christians. What the actual?
You see, they don't want this history out there. Whether it's Ron DeSantis or whoever else, they don't want America to know the true history of who they are. Because this is the thing. If you know the history of who they really are, then what could they really tell you even in 2023 when they have a system that's the same system that those people that she's talking about? When they have a system still in place in 2023 built by the same people that she's talking about that was fighting for the body parts of black people. Also, they were eating black people as well. If you read the book, The Delectable Negro, they had a thing even called Negro soup. Oh, yes. They was eating people from the continent of Africa, Europe, and also here in the Americas, black people. They don't want that history to be out there as well. See, these people's history is not good. And they for sure don't want white people to learn the history because they need the majority of white people to believe in the lie of white supremacy.
White Christians would go to church on a Sunday wearing a cross around their neck to worship a martyr god who was crucified by being nailed to a cross to be publicly tortured to death for political reasons. And then those same Christians would leave church with a picnic to go to a public, and then they would gather by the hundreds or thousands to do to a black person the same or worse than was done to their martyr god.
If white people find out the true history of their ancestors, they will become sickened because once you learn it, you can't just justify it. How can you justify that? Well, she's describing. It's nothing there to justify. That you go to a church supposed to be worshiping white Jesus, which is, like I said, that is their idol, white Jesus, and then go and torture and trying to save the body parts of a black person. They will sell tickets to go to this. Like you go into a concert. Yes, this is what they would do, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I tell people, know the history and scream it to the rooftops. Because there's nothing they could tell you today to nothing they could tell you to justify any of that. Some of them, they so deep in their devilment that they'll rationalize that and they'll say, oh, well, other people did it too. That's what they like to say. Oh, other people in other countries, I don't care what people did. If they did, they didn't, whatever. We're talking about what your ancestors done and how you're still guilty and how the blood of black people is still on your hands because you're maintaining a system that was built off of the terror of black people. So you're just as guilty. If you want to make it right, the first thing you need to do is pay up reparations by cash payments. That's one of the first things you got to do. for all the stolen labor and wealth that came from black people. Because I'm a firm believer of, you should be tortured every night in your sleep. You shouldn't get no sleep until you do what's right by black people. And I'm talking about, from all your politicians should be tortured in their sleep. They got a system that was built off of the blood of black people. Evil, evil, evil.
And then they would pass out the body parts as souvenirs, and they would take photographs to go on postcards. And they would bring their kids and call themselves, without irony, Christians. What the actual?
But as more and more people within that woman's community learn about their true history, they're going to get sickened. They're going to get truly sickened by it. But it's up to y'all to do something about it. Okay, you found out. Okay, that's a good thing you found out. Now what are you going to do about it? Are you going to go right back to your white privilege? Or are you going to do something about it to make it right? Be the generation to make it right. No, you can't undo what your ancestors done, but you could do something to fix it. Be the generation to fix it. Be the generation to bring the healing. Be the generation to bring justice finally. Be the generation to get slavery off the books, because the 13th Amendment still has slavery on the books. Be that generation. Or you're just going to go down in the history books as just evil. And I don't think you want that to be your complete legacy. You can say, yeah, they were evil for a lot of the years, but at the end, they made things right. Be part of that generation. Let me know what y'all think about, what this woman is saying. But this is why they don't want them to know the history, because they don't want too many white people talking in this manner. They don't want that, because remember, as I said earlier, they got to have them believing in the lie of white supremacy for it to stay existing.